Let's get straight into it, Harmy. Then it's the last week of term. It's the last week of the World T20 World Cup, and England have done what you didn't think they would and reached the last four. You didn't have them in your last four.
No.
I didn't either. But so, um, you know, there, is there a sense that not overachieved, but they have done well. The irony for me is that they were the first team into the semi-finals and probably the least convincing.
Yeah, first team in, least convincing. I don't think they've overachieved. No, I think they've done enough, and I think they've had enough moments in the tournament by individuals, which I think have carried England to the position they're in. I don't think they can afford any more of them moments where the big players haven't arrived, like Jos and like Phil Salt and people like that. I had Australia there. I think many others did.
Yeah.
They were woeful. They really were woeful. But a sign of a good side when you can get yourselves in a position to get over the line from not a lost cause. I don't think England were in any lost causes when Will Jacks has got them out of trouble. But I think England will say we've got the right people at the right places and going in with the right skill sets at the right time. I beg to differ a little bit on that one, but look, when I see them in the semi-final and give themselves a chance. Yeah, they give themselves a chance. I think if they were to do what West Indies did, which would be to go win the toss, bat first, and get a 196 score at the Wankhede, I think England will defend that because I think England's got better bowlers, spin bowlers especially, than what the West Indies have. But that's a long way off with the way the top order is firing at this moment in time. But you give a huge amount of credit. We've all been, and this is where I think we need to give credit to McCullum. I really do think we need to give credit to McCullum because a hell of a lot of us, and I've been one of the guilty ones who have not just called for his head, but been critical of the way the team has been behaved and performed over the course of the last 6 months. There's been some big calls in this tournament. Will Jacks to bat 7, Harry Brook to go up to number 3. All these calls, Rehan Ahmed to come in and play, they've all come. And I'm not saying they've all been McCullum, but if you're going to criticise the environment and he leads the environment, you have to praise the environment because he leads the environment. He's made some big calls during this tournament and they've worked. They really have worked. And it's now a chance, hopefully, to back them up and get over the line in the semi-finals, potentially get themselves in a final. Because you'd argue now the final is easier than the semi-final because obviously England play India in home on their own back garden. So I think what I will say is credit to McCullum on this because of the calls he's been heavily involved in mid have not only come off, but they've got England in a position to be in the semi-final, which is full credit to the coach and the leader.
2 points to make. If I said to you before the tournament started that Jos Buttler wouldn't score a single boundary in his first 5 innings in the tournament, you probably would have said, well, they've got no chance of reaching the last 4 in that case. So my question is, even for somebody like Jos Buttler, who's been one of the world's best for, a good part of the last decade, even somebody like him, who knows that there are swings and roundabouts and ups and downs, is it, you've been world's number one, and when you it only takes a couple of overs of bowling rubbish for the doubts to start creeping in, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, and I'm sure Jos has got them doubts. I'm not sure he's tinkering with technique or anything like that, but he'd be tinkering in mind. And the tinkering in mind, and I always talk about that Spanish waiter on your right hand side, telling you as a world class number 11, I can hit every ball out of the ground for 6. And when you chip one up in the air, you look like an idiot, and you look for him, he's not there. I think Jos has got he's got the doubts in his mind. He will have. He's human, but he's still got the talent in his body and talent in his hands. And the biggest thing he's got is talent under pressure. And I think under the utmost pressure of the semi-final, I've said this a couple of times to John Norman, I still wouldn't want anybody else in English colours walking out to bat as an opener just yet. I mean, we're not sticking with Jos Buttler like we stick. I don't want to sort of highlight Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope. We're not sticking with Jos Buttler like Ollie Pope and Zach Crawley get stuck with in the Test match team. We're sticking with Jos Buttler because we know he's the best that there is. He's the best we've ever had, and he will. I've got no doubt will come good. But there will be a nagging doubt, not because of his age, because he's had a couple of low scores. It unfortunately it happens. But again, I think you're right. If he had said he wouldn't score a boundary in them games, you wouldn't have many people betting on it because, and you'd expect England would have a tournament like Australia if that was the case. So it just shows you how well the likes of the middle order and the lower middle order, likes of Sam Curran and Will Jacks have done for England, because the top 4 or 5, other than moments of brilliance, have not really fired. I mean, they haven't. Harry's had 150. Jos hasn't. He's had a couple of 20s. Phil Salt's had a score. Jacob Bethel's had fits and starts, but the majority of the time England have gone into the sort of latter part of the second half, or sorry, the middle part of the second half. And Sam Curran and Will Jacks has either had to put a fire out or go and win a game. And fair play to England for keep going and getting themselves in this position.
The irony to me is that I could be completely wrong about this. Is that Will Jacks seems to have fallen into that role that he's in at the moment by default, because that was the only one available to him, and he's got 4 Player of the Match awards, which, by the way, equals the tournament record of Shane Watson, who also picked up 4 Player of the Match awards in the 2012 edition of the World Cup. But credit to him, it's not even a role that he's done domestically that often. If it's turning, he's a bowler, and he's got a finish at number 7, and boy, he's doing it sensationally.
He is, and he's just a good player, isn't he? He is a good player. There is a good player in there. When England took Will Jacks to Australia, I mean, there was a lot of eyebrows raised and question marks. I wasn't. I mean, I've always known this boy as a player. I was a batter who bowls, and he didn't expect him to play 4 Test matches as a frontline spin bowler. But at the end of the day, there's a good player in there. We've seen sometimes in the winter as well. In Australia that he calm under pressure. I think there was was it at Brisbane when him and Ben batted over late towards the end of the night and showed their fighting qualities and their defensive work as opposed to his attacking array of shots. I expected him didn't expect him to go to 3 when Harry went to 3 because he was doing such a good job at 7. But I think if you were looking for a number 3, a right-handed number 3 out of what England have got, you'd probably say with his franchise displays, his IPL displays, 100 display, you'd expect more suited that Will Jacks would be happier up the top of the order. But he's found himself a role there at the bottom now, which a little bit like, I don't think Harry needs to move from 3 for quite a long time. And I think, unfortunately for Will Jacks, I think he's going to bat 7 for the foreseeable future in a 20-over game for England and potentially in franchise cricket. So, if he likes facing a new ball and he gets out there early, and, there'll be teams, I'm sure. RCB, when he was at RCB, he was a top ender. He might go back to the top end for the Oval Invincibles, but I can't see him batting any higher than 7 for England. Especially the way Sam Curran's batted as well. I think that dynamic has gone really well for England. Curran and Jacks at 6 and 7, left and right in combination. 2 of them know each other really, really well. And they've dug England out of a hole just a couple of times, and I quite like that. We've just got to get the bits in the middle right, and hopefully in the semi-final or the final, that will happen.
Yeah, it's interesting that that England have got a guy with an IPL 100 batting at number 7. 2 more questions though for you quickly. The Wankhede pitch is one of the most malleable, changeable in the world, I reckon. It can turn sideways, and it can also, if it's a fresh wicket, offer a bit of pace and bounce. So that can change a lot. One thing that can't change is the speed of the outfield and the size of the boundaries. It's quite a small stadium. It can be very high scoring. So England will have a question and it'd be interesting, because the Indian team don't mind an instruction or two to to their local groundsman. So it'd be interesting, I mean, it's the end of the tournament, it's the end of the season. It will take some turn, But the question, selection question between Rehan Ahmed and Jamie Overton is going to be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
If it's going to turn, do they play Rehan? In that Indian top seven, top eight, whew, he has a bad day. He's going for 50 or more.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, do you know what I'm like? While we're left fielders, I just wonder if England, and I've just said how well Sam Curran's gone with Will Jacks. I wonder if England are thinking of playing them both because Jacob Bettel can't bowl. He's got a busted finger. He's got a cut in his finger. We seen the last game. He bowled one over for 13, and you could see it wasn't right. Could England potentially play them both and put Sam Curran where he bats in IPL cricket at number 4, and Rehan do the number 6 role with Jamie Overton at number 8? So I don't think they'll go that way. I still think they might have a look at the Bethel option. I've always thought England were a seamer short, so leaving Overton out on a pitch which could go through a little bit more than what a normal subcontinent pitch does, and that big tall bowler to hit the pitch if the pitch has got either a bit of pace in it or it's just got no bounce in it whatsoever, and then a little bit of inconsistency. Because Jamie does bowl well when there's any surface which has got a little bit of inconsistency in. I'd be tempted to try and get them both in the side, but that would mean leaving a batter out, and that would be a big call. So it'll come down to the surface. And do you know what? Like I've said earlier, McCullum, credit to him, the way his calls have gone so far in this World T20. I'll back him to make the right call. It wouldn't surprise me if Rehan stays in the side.
I think that's a bonkers idea, Homie, leaving a batsman out. Honestly. Anyway, a reminder that Harmy will be back alongside John Norman for a live edition of Following On Thursday afternoon on talkSPORT 2 and the talkSPORT Cricket YouTube channel at about 5:30 to bring you immediate reaction to England's semi-final against India.